What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I am Alex, and I am joined by my good friend Sway, and we're here for the second annual Podcast Now Game Awards. What a freaking event we have planned for you. I think we went all out. We're not at the Game Awards yet, but we will be one day. Firstly, I guess, Sway, how are you? Just real quick.
Doing pretty good, man. Loving gaming, just coming up the holiday season. New games, new energy. We're doing this award show. I can't wait. How about you,
And this is going to be, and I think our awards really emphasize it. Sway put in a lot of work, I'd say, to put some really good categories that you're not going to find anywhere else on this channel, except for this channel. But this is about celebration, right? In fact, we kind of forgot to look forward. I think last year we did most anticipated. This year we didn't. So it's truly, this whole show is about looking to the future, looking to right now, actually not looking to the future whatsoever. Okay. So I want to go over just if there are any rules or anything kind of pops into our head, we'll go over that. And then we got a cool little trailer I want to play you guys. And then we'll go into the actual thing. We got 20 categories, I think 21 because the player's choice is also one of them. I don't know about you, Sway. So I took liberties with like one category. I guess we'll get there when we get there. For my winners, I really tried to pick, and I think you did too. We picked things that we experienced. Is that true for you? Right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe like one or two categories. I think I struggled with like the fifth choice. So I think I picked, but I really tried to keep it where I've played these games.
Yes.
I'm playing like Epic Mickey right now. That's not included in anything. Persona 3 is not included in anything for me, except for the one that I had to reach a little bit. But I think is that kind of our general rule? I mean, we tried to pick stuff we experienced.
100%. That's what I did. All my winners are things and I feel like they should be because they would have the more impactful.
Yeah.
Like, I guess like.
Well, there are choices, there are.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't have to be for the industry like the Game Awards is. These are personal favorites for us. But I think we got, I guess, the final thing to say, and then we'll just start the presentation. We got a good variety. I think we got a lot of diversity here. Sway brought the VR energy to the party, something that I could not bring. But I think actually we nailed quite a bit. So I'm excited. Are you ready, Sway?
I am ready. Is the
all
chat
right.
ready?
Hopefully we're all ready. Thank you to those watching live. Obviously, I think it's the coolest live because it's literally going on before your eyes. But if you're watching later, which I know last year, 95% people, at the end of the day, watch it afterwards. We really appreciate you guys being here. And hopefully you'll like the show and tell us what we can do to add to it next time. Okay. Without further ado, I guess let's get into it. Okay. So hopefully this goes off without a hitch, but you never know. All right. 1, 2, 3.
There's a new darkness overtaking Gotham.
You battle against gods.
To chase your dreams at any price.
I found my friend's body in the woods.
This is right.
Is it dangerous?
See what he's up to. And the new kid came back away.
Nobody's ever been
Here. This isn't about me, though.
There you go. There's a little presentation to I think show this was a great year. Okay. I know a lot of people or some people didn't like this year so much. I thought this year was fantastic personally.
Same.
Could have been better for sure. I'm sure 2025 might actually beat it, but this year was pretty darn good. All right, Sway, you lead us off. Oh, and there we go. There's the first time we mess up. I think you gotta go like that. Okay. Sway, this is kind of a I think middle ground type thing, right? Where we get to, you have the Elden Rings of the world, but also other stuff. So you walk us through it. If we need explanation for why certain things are picked, we can do it. The most explanation will be for the winner, and Sway's going to kick us off. So Sway, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, so I obviously have Elden Ring, Shadow of the Elden Tree. I have Destiny 2, Final Shape. I have Alan Wake 2, The Lake House. I have Persona 3, Episode Aegis, and I have Final Fantasy 6, Rising Tide. I have either played or watched the game movies to all of these categories. Hands down, it was Elden Ring for me. That was my winner. It was my winner because of just the amount of work that went into it. For every reason that people nominated this for that Jeff nominated this for Game of the Year, while I disagreed that it should have been Game of the Year, I will say that the work being put into it and how long the DLC was and just how much content was packed into it, not to mention the difficulty, the fun, everything from playing like the base game of Elden Ring just added on and layered on into this one DLC. I mean, you could have put Phantom Liberty next to this DLC, and I probably still would have picked this one.
There we go. So you got the first winner, and Shadow of the Erdtree gets a little representation for us. All right, we'll go with mine. So I wanted to do when Sway sent me his first. Okay, so when he sent me his, I thought, all right, well, I want to match him in some places, but also kind of go wild. So I've Astrobot, the speed run levels. Could also be the Christmas one that they added. Shadow of the Erdtree, Alan Wake 2. I just did both Lake House and Night Springs. Same thing for Persona 3, and then Final Fantasy 16 Rising Tide. So this is one that, had to reach a little bit just because I haven't played actually most of these. But, sticking with the theme that I have to kind of play in order to win, you might be able to guess mine are actually the Astrobot ones. I think it's just, Elden Ring is a great one, okay? It really probably just comes down to which ones I played. I think Astrobot, these levels just enhanced the game, right? It kind of kept it alive longer in my heart and in my mind. I think they're fantastic. I think these are phenomenal missions. I got like top 200-300 in the world, which made me feel really good about myself. So had to give it a little bit of love for best expansion. All right. We got best setting, which is one that I don't understand why the Game Awards doesn't do this, right? Like, but it could be visual. It could just be kind of like putting you in the spirit of whatever the game is trying to do. So these are mine. We're kind of going like a snake. So I get last and then first here. So Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Hawaii and all that jazz. Banishers, Ghost of New Eden. This is its first spot here. Astrobot, Metaphor, Refantasio, and then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I think this was actually kind of a hard one because a lot of games I think had really good settings this year. And my winner is Astro. This one was tough. This one was honestly tough. I think Final Fantasy really puts you into the world. Banishers really puts you into the world. And I think they probably do it better in a way than Astrobot. I kind of, not necessarily Liberty, but I kind of just looked at the diversity of the environments and areas and just thought, okay, all of the levels you're playing in Astrobot, I think they're all so good and they all are so different, So I reached a little bit, but I feel pretty confident with giving Astrobot this one. And guys, yeah, actually, you guys are doing it right now. the Metaphor one, you're going to get mad at me. If you guys want to tell us, as we're going along, we do have the player's choice, what you guys voted on in the community tab of podcast now, that is in the middle. Okay, so what you guys picked, I'll reveal the winner live on stage. And but if you want to give us your winner for each of these as we're going, leave it in the chat. All right, Sway, your best setting.
Okay, Black Myth Wukong, Stellar Blade, Asgard's Wrath 2, Batman Arkham Shadows, and Final Fantasy Rebirth. For this one, honestly, VR really, this is going to be the first one where you can tell VR had a very big impact on me this year. My winner was Asgard's Wrath 2. And the reason for this is because The first Asgard's Wrath was actually set in Norse mythology. This one is set in Greek mythology. However, you're still going after Loki. Just the world, you're going in and out of just like different realities. You're taking control of a character. It's like the whole world. You're going from ancient Egypt to all of these different places. Like you start off in like, yeah, you start off back in Norse mythology before you get put into the new one, until you get put into Greek. And it is just insane, the settings that you go, and being in VR where everything is scaled to as it should be. So like a giant literally feels like a giant to you when you're going through a portal, when you're going in between realities. It's just, you feel like you're there. And I feel like it was so creative. Cannot say enough about the setting.
There we go. All right. Sway takes this one. Best character. This is yours.
Best character. Batman from Batman Arkham Shadows. Aerith from Final Fantasy Rebirth. Max Claudefield from Life is Strange Double Exposure. Sadar from Metro Awakening. And Indy from Indiana Jones. For this one, Batman from Batman Arkham Shadows. It's clear. This game, let me tell you, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody that has not played it yet. But the premise of it is Batman goes undercover in Blackgate Prison under an alias, and this is a sequel directly behind Arkham Origins. And I don't know how many of you know this, but Arkham Origins is my favorite story of the Batman Arkham games. I find that early Batman stories have better character progression. And you're literally seeing him over the course of this game get a perspective from the thugs or the prisoners aspect about how their living is there while he's there to try to crack a case. He's seeing how things are from the other side, and you can tell how that influences him to go on to be the Batman in the games that we get going forward.
I will say, you jogged my memory. While I think generally there are no spoilers, there is one for me on the best moment one. So just everybody, it's for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So I'll just tell you the title of it now. If you don't know what happens in Rebirth, you might be mad at me once we get there. Well, that's not for a while. Next up, best character. This one I think was a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. So I did Ichiban from Infinite Wealth, Aerith from Rebirth, Max from Life is Strange, Red from Banisher's Ghost of New Eden, and then Indy from Indiana Jones. And this was kind of easy. You know, we have best character, we also have best performance, and we have best cast. So we really tried to kind of mix things up. However, it actually, I won't spoil it yet, but it kind of went a certain way for me because I'm going to give it to Aerith. I think all these characters are fantastic. And honestly, I will tell you, it was between Aerith and Red. I think Red from Banishers is phenomenal. And another funny story, my wife actually got mad at me for this choice because she watched me do Rebirth and she watched me do Banishers. And she asked me, like, who'd you pick? And I said, Aerith. And she said, you didn't pick Red? And she said he was much better. So if you want my wife's answer, and Red he's awesome character, really well acted. And really well written, and you could go. I honestly, you could do Antea here. You could do James from Silent Hill. You could do a lot of different characters. So this one was tough. And it was close between her and Red. Best story, Banishers again. Banishers, Ghost of New Eden, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor, ReFantazio, and then Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2. And the winner, this one actually might surprise people, Banishers. I think I had to. Final Fantasies has the most, like, the ending of Final Fantasy is a journey and a ride, but I think from beginning to end, how well written, I think I did kind of consistency in my head, like how I rationalized it. I think the consistency of Banishers and the setting, this is kind of like, you know, I kind of used a couple different categories, put it all into this one. Banishers is a phenomenal game. I wanted to give it, some awards here. And I don't know. I think the story of that game is phenomenal from beginning to end. But, Metaphor is a good one. Final Fantasy is a good one. Metaphor is one of the most consistently great games I've ever played. But Banishers, I just kind of wanted to give it a little love there. All right, Sway, your turn.
Okay, best story: Batman: Arkham Shadow, Indiana Jones: The Great Circle, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Stellar Blade, Metro Awakening. My decision for this category is Batman: Arkham Shadows. As I mentioned earlier, he's going undercover. Roger Craig Smith plays 3 different characters in this game. They're all the same character. Bruce Wayne, his alias matches Malone, and obviously Batman. He's cycling between all these different things. I'm going to be honest with you. The whole game premise is about finding the Rat King. And the Rat King, I thought the game was so predictable because they use comic book readers like expectations against them. So the entire time I'm watching hint after hint after hint after hint. And it's like, if you've either played some of the Batman Arkham games or if you just read comics and you know who they're trying to hint you with, you're just like, oh man, this is so predictable. This is so predictable. And it wasn't. It completely, I probably should have expected it, but I didn't because they did a good job at leading you away from it.
There we go. All right, you take the next one. This is the only one that's more negative, right? I think we only have one bad category here.
South Park Snow Day, Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, Star Wars Outlaws, Unknown 9, Concord. Now, the first 3 in this list, just knowing me, I have a passion for all 3 of those.
Yeah.
And them being disappointing, I felt like in any other year would have let me down harder than anything here. But when a game makes history for how bad it is, Concord was the only answer.
There we go. What a game. Well, I mean, the game's not even around anymore. So that's a good pick. I can respect that pick. All right. So this is one that I thought, because you nailed the Concord and I wasn't really expecting. So what I think this is kind of how both of us do it. My most disappointing is expectations versus delivery, right?
Yep.
Like the kind of gap in between. So I kind of tried to pick some different ones than what you picked. South Park, Suicide Squad, Casting of Frank Stone, which I was actually like relatively excited for and was a big disappointment. Dragon Age, kind of like middling. And then Power Rangers, which I actually was more excited than I should have been, and it was terrible. So, but mine, if you've heard me talk this year, you should know what mine is, and it's South Park. South Park is, in my opinion, the worst game that I played this year. And that's sad. And in fact, I think that hurts Sway. And I can totally I mean, Sway likes it more. Actually, I feel more bad for him than I do for myself. We were both like ready for this game going. We talked about it on
the best part.
Yeah. And I mean, I like the art style. Like, I think it's cool, but I mean, again, expectations versus what it delivered, right? Like I both of us were saying on Podcast on Plus, we had the Save Point podcast, right? We were saying like how pumped we were for this game. And then it just, I feel like it kind of hit us slowly where we slowly realized as playing it, where it's like, oh no,
It was so bad. And I wanted to love this thing so much. Alex knows, like I really wanted to love it. I was excited, got the collector's edition, which I still do not regret. However, the game portion of it, I've played it with friends, I've played it on my own. I felt like this could have worked if they, with this art style, had they took a SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom route and not the route they took.
Yeah. Well, they did like a roguelike, and then they didn't even do a good roguelike in my,
Exactly. I don't think that they did either. The enemies felt too bullet spongy. It just wasn't fun. The story, on the other hand, could have gone somewhere, but the game just takes you out of it so much, and then you can't go.
The boss fights were okay. I'd say the boss fights were fine, but just the structure, and I don't know. And again, it's about the first 2, as Deadly Beast said, the first 2 were so good, so it's going from, Fractured Butthole and Stick of Truth to this. And it's like, that's not even the same category. All right. This is a personal favorite, I think, of both of ours. Actually, this is kind of somewhat looking to the future, but also what we expected this past year. So Missing in Action, I tried to do different ones than Sway, including a different winner, I believe. So I picked Wonder Woman, BioShock, Marvel's Wolverine, Wolf Among Us 2, and Tomb Raider. There's actually more. If you Sway picked some different ones, and I think there's probably like 10 or so in all we could have picked. And my winner is Wolf Among Us. I think it's gotta be like Wonder Woman's a good one, Wolverine's a good one, but Wolf Among Us has. So me personally, Wolf Among Us has just like lost my like my care for it's gone. And like when that happens, like I still care about Wonder Woman. I still care about Wolverine. And I'm going to be excited the day we see Wolf Among Us, but I don't have any spirit. Like it's like a Dementor sucking the soul out of you. That's how it feels like for Wolf Among Us. So when I felt like that, the other games I have somewhat similar feelings, but none as bad as Wolf. All right, Sway, your turn.
My categories are. Well,
this is where I messed up at the
are,
very end. Yeah.
Wonder Woman, Metro Prime 4, Vigilancer 2099, Wolf Among Us 2, Lost Soul Aside.
And Lost Soul Aside came in clutch at the end.
It came in clutch at the end. It just barely made it. I had to tell Alex, like, we got to take it off. There's got to be an X next to it because it's just, they came in clutch. So it survived. It was not the winner anyway, but it survived. Wolf Among Us was actually going to be the runner-up. Unlike Lost Soul Aside started with one person developing it, and did not get a team until 3 or 4 years later. So the 9-year development process, I understand.
Yeah.
Wolf Among Us was going to be my runner-up only because I like this game so much that this was actually the very first game I ever got a platinum for.
Wow.
It was the first game that made me go out my way to get a platinum. So I have a special particular bond with the first Wolf Among Us. The things that happened with Telltale, like didn't think for a while we were ever going to see a second one.
Yeah.
Then we got hope for a second.
We still might not.
Right. Yeah, at this point, we still might not. And so that was disappointing, but nothing on this list has me more hyped than Wonder Woman when it was announced. And it has been so long, and every ounce of excitement and just anything that we can have for this game slowly dies because we hear nothing from it. There's been even the reports that come out about like the development cycle has been terrible, and we might not see it even further from when we thought we might see it. It's just kind of sad, the state of where it is right now, and that's why it is my winner personally, because it's just, we all know the comic book games is what I live for, and just this not materializing after being announced at this point, what, 3 years?
3 years.
3 years, yeah. So it had to be this one. It had to.
There's, I mean, like Kingdom Hearts is a good one. The idea of like a Persona 6, 007, the 007 game, I think is actually almost 4 years old, or it is 4 years old that they announced it. There's a lot of games in that like 3 to 5 years. Star Wars Eclipse, of course.
Yep.
There's quite a few. All right, Sway. This is one that we kind of negotiated on a little bit, but I love the general. So this is like scene, right? This is like an actual moment in the game. Now, again, this is the one that spoils the Final Fantasy, but I already warned you guys, so you can't get mad at me. All right, Sway, take it away.
I just realized, but technically, I have a spoiler in this one as well.
You do. Oh, you do. You have 2. Ah, dang it. Oh well. Actually, no, you have 3. The far right one as well.
Yes.
Dang it. Oh well.
So my categories is Batman and Joe Chill, Yana and Peta in reunite. Eve finds out Adam's secret. Arif's death. Darth Vader confronts Cirillo. He always have trouble saying this.
Sliro? I don't even know how you say
it. But my winner was Batman and Joe Chill. If you've read, just Batman comic books, if you've I say even watch Batman the animated series from the 90s, this character, and they don't even tell you what this character does until the end. So maybe if you don't know, play the game, don't look it up, just kind of like go through it not knowing, and then the impact of it will have a different weight. But the moment I seen Joe throughout the whole game, my mind is wondering, like, is it him? Is it who I'm thinking it is? And the way that both of them from the time Batman finds out to the moment where they have to acknowledge it. It's subtle, but it's powerful.
I can say I only know what happens because I looked it up for you to get these graphics. So I got spoiled, but it's pretty cool, guys. I have to tell you. Okay, I tried to pick some different ones. Max Caulfield's Return, which I really liked typing that. Okay, I thought that was actually really cool just to kind of say out loud. Max Caulfield's Return, Red and Antaea's Final Moments. So mine are just full with spoilers. Astrobot. Thieves, which specifically, this is like Joker as well, but obviously Sly Cooper. I thought that was super neat. Aerith's death and the date dream, the dream sequence right before it. And then Metaphor's opening hours, because, well, again, as I said, I think Metaphor is a consistently very high quality game. Those first, like the demo that they put out that you could carry over, it starts so freaking hot, and then it quiets down and it goes up and down, kind of throughout the game. But those first hours come in really, really hot. So, those are my 5. I think they're all really, really great moments and ones that I smile. When Max walks on screen in the beginning of Life is Strange, I smiled and I was just so happy. Red and Antea, seeing Sly and Astro, like all these made my day. However, I gotta say, mine will be Aerith. It's not even just so I'll never forget, and I'm gonna go into spoilers. Like when you block Sephiroth's sword and then it lands on the ground. I was sitting on my couch and I jumped forward and I said, yes. So I don't really get animated. I mean, I talk a lot, but I don't really get animated. So that, like, I was like that. And then when the camera spins and then she's stabbed, my wife was sitting next to me and I was like, what is going on? I remember that. And then also just the date. I mean, that specific scene when they're in the church and then Sephiroth comes in and, she throws Cloud down. Like, that was just beautiful with the music in the background. And that was in my, the trailer in the beginning of this show. So I don't know. To me, that's like a perfect, 2 hours. Whereas the rest of them were amazing, but they were pretty condensed. This managed to stretch it out. So that's mine. Feel pretty good about that one. Okay, so that means this one is. Sometimes I forget about the order because ours are so similar. Sometimes I do think this is mine. Best combat, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Infinite Wealth. I figured I would toss that a bone because I think the combat is just phenomenal in that game. Stellar Blade, Black Myth Wukong, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I felt like Indy deserved his time to shine as well, but my winner is Stellar Blade. I won't spoil Sway's yet, but I won't say anything else. I think it's phenomenal. I had so much fun in Stellar Blade's combat. It's got that rewarding, we have the skill gap one that we'll get to, I think, eventually. It's just a lot of fun, and I struggled towards the very end, but it's a blast. It's something that really requires, I think, that perfect kind of touch. But when you're nailing those perfect dodges and perfect parrying, it just feels so good. So in terms of rewarding and just kind of that structure, Final Fantasy is really good too. That might have been my runner-up, but I felt this was the chance. I don't think I gave Stellar Blade all that many, but I had to do it here. All right, Sway, your turn.
Okay, best combat: Stellar Blade, Tekken 8, Black Myth Wukong, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Batman Arkham Shadow. And my winner, Stellar Blade.
I think it's the only one we both have the same. Of all 20, it could be the only one we picked the same.
Stellar Blade is a very, very, very special game. This was my runner-up for best story, and it was this was the first category that I chose. And it took me a few days to finish the list of categories and nominees.
Yeah.
But this one all the way up until the end was my best story winner. And it was going back and forth. But this game has had such an impact, and this game's combat felt the best. As a Devil May Cry fan, it literally brought me back for a while with a lot of things that they incorporated. The enemy design, the boss design, some of the enemies, the attack patterns, some of the combos you do. It's just the only thing they needed was just more air combos, and I would have just been in heaven. So yeah.
Even her special abilities, the square, triangle, it's just really good. It's a really soundtrack. We'll get the soundtrack. Don't you worry. Okay, so you just went. So now this is also yours.
Okay, best visuals and art style. Life is Strange, Double Exposure, Metaphor, Refantasio, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, Disney's Epic Mickey, love that game. Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom. And my winner was Metaphor Refantasio. I only have at this point about roughly 10 hours in the game at this point, and I am in awe of this art style. I absolutely love it. It pops off the screen. It is also very charismatic and emotive. You get all the emotion and everything that the game wants you to feel. And like Alex says, the first 2 hours start off hot, but man, is this a beautiful game to look at.
It is. It is. Mine might make people kind of mad. I took a different path. It didn't even make it for mine. But I don't know. I guess my rationale was it's so beautiful, but it's something like Persona and stuff. I don't know. I don't actually. I don't know if I can justify. I try to go a little off the board though. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Astrobot, the Plucky Squire. You're gonna see the Plucky Squire again on mine. I felt that game deserved a little recognition. Dragon Ball. I'm actually surprised you didn't do Dragon Ball. And then Life is Strange Double Exposure. And the winner's going to shock you. I actually did Life is Strange. I feel it just looks so good. I mean, yeah, you have the story issues and, other things that we've talked for months about, but seeing Max again, seeing it in the new engine or kind of updated, I don't know. I feel like the visuals is not this game's problem. In fact, the visuals in this game are 10 out of 10 kind of the entire time.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking to Amanda or whatever. So yeah, I don't know if
It
you
was
would
actually
ask.
my
Yeah, I mean
runner-up.
this one's tough. There's a lot of amazing visuals. Astrobot, Metaphor. I think Dragon Ball is so beautiful. I was
It is.
thinking Dragon Ball actually for a while, to be honest with you. That would probably be my runner up. And then there we go, best soundtrack. Okay. Stellar Blade, Metaphor Refantasio, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Astrobot, Silent Hill 2 Remake. Now, I forgot this in the beginning. When it comes to like remake rules, this is just my own personal thing. Sway always can do what he wants when we pick these. I try to do it where, games that get remasters are probably never included for me, but if it gets a remake, it's got to be something that's changed enough. So I don't think I did Silent Hill 2 for the story because it's the same story, right? So I try to pick like the soundtrack. He came back and it's like an updated version of the 2001 soundtrack. So that's just kind of my own personal rule with remakes is if it's new, it can count, like James or something. But if it's reused, if it's the story, even the setting of Silent Hill, like we've seen it before. Okay. So those are mine. And I actually did Final Fantasy. And I'll tell you, like Stellar Blades is phenomenal. Metaphors is phenomenal. The only difference, I'd say, Final Fantasy, again, like in those prime moments, it really got me.
Yeah.
And also, I actually bought that 7-disc soundtrack and I didn't do that with the others, right? So it's like if I spent $80 or whatever on the soundtrack, it must have touched me. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of how I rationalize that one. All right, your turn.
Okay, so my nominees are Stellar Blade, Metaphor Refantasio, Final Fantasy Rebirth, Astrobot, and Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. And my winner, unsurprisingly, is Stellar Blade. Just like Alex, actually, they dropped a mini album for the soundtrack, and then they dropped the actual soundtrack. I bought both. I tried to get the vinyl that was a pre-order in Japan, or Korea, and I could not get a hold of this thing. It was up for resale, but it was like for $500.
Oh my god!
And yeah, I would have if I was balling, I would have did it. I've loved that soundtrack so much. I mean, when I say that it's on weekly rotation, it is. It is, as far as gaming soundtracks goes, in my top 2 gaming soundtracks of all time. I very thoroughly enjoy the soundtrack to this game.
I'll tell you, soundtracks are tough because I love music. I listen to music like a lot in the background. Stellar Blade, for this, I went back and I listened, like on YouTube, I just listened to the full whatever hour plus thing, and it is a very like digestible and like awesome, like rocking kind of soundtrack. And I don't think all soundtracks, and this was probably my runner-up. I would say the consistency of soundtracks is what like I was trying to go for, and then also that jaw-dropping stuff of Final Fantasy. But yeah, I don't know. I think Stellar Blade nails it with like all of these songs are so freaking good, and they they can stand alone without the game. I guess that's
Yes.
another. I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to be the biggest part, but just like, can you listen to it without the game playing? And you can, I think, for Stellar Blade. It's a good choice. It's a good pick. Okay, so that was yours. So now, this is just okay. So we did. I did write-ins first. Okay, I had people write in on Twitter and on YouTube. If you didn't participate, that's on you. And you could nominate as many games as you wanted. Okay, your favorite games for the year. I picked the top 4 because that's the number that people could actually vote on YouTube. The 5th, if you're curious, was Black Myth. Okay, so in order, actually not even in order. These were the top 4. I think actually Astrobot had the most in the write-in category. Okay, but Black Myth was 5. I actually think Call of Duty was 6 and Metaphor was 7. So that was the first stage. Then you guys got to vote on it, which was opened up to a couple thousand, and we got different kinds of people. And the people, Sway, they did speak, and they spoke by I think about 700 more votes. The game that won over the other, and it was Final Fantasy. Okay. In order, it was Final Fantasy. Astrobot was below it, but it was about 700. And then Stellar Blade and Silent Hill nearly tied. So that was an interesting one, that those two fandoms, they came in, but they matched each other. I was actually surprised Silent Hill had the fandom that it had vote. So there you go. So the people have spoken. I guess Black Myth won the Game Awards, but thank God Genshin Impact wasn't in our top 5. I wouldn't allow it. Okay, this is yours because I noticed the Rat King.
Best villain: Adam from Stellar Blade, Sephiroth from Final Fantasy Rebirth, the Rat King from Arkham Shadows, Mother Spear from Stellar Blade, the Dark Ones from Metro Awakening, and the winner is the Rat King. Mother Spear was my runner-up. I was going back and forth between her and the Rat King.
That was a good one. I'm glad I had fun finding that for you when you sent it to me.
The Rat King is, and even then, like in this picture, which I'm so glad, because this is the Rat Catcher, but the Rat King, you don't know. They don't have any pictures of him.
Yeah.
But who he turns out to be, I was shocked.
Yeah. I found some different. I didn't know how spoiler-y we wanted to go with certain things, but yeah. That's a good one. And there's the VR representation still coming in hot.
Yes.
So, I tried to really space it out. So Pyramid Head, again, this was kind of the I guess it was allowed to be in. The theme of Pyramid Head is still the same, but I think Pyramid Head kind of took a new life, with the remake. I was definitely more afraid of him in the remake than originally. Sephiroth Lewis of Metaphor, who I just want to give an honorable mention because he didn't win, but he is very complex. Voss from Indiana Jones. This is why we hold off on our Game Awards till all the games come out. And then the Nightmare in Banisher's Ghost of New Eden. Great characters, great story, great villain. Kind of end threat there. So I wanted to throw her in as well. And my winner is Sephiroth. He's it had to be. Voss is his personality is awesome. I actually think Voss is one of the more underratedly written villains in all of the year. Metaphor, so freaking good and very complex. I mean, those villains are good. But when Sephiroth, you want to like him, especially how it begins. And then he goes so bad, and we know that. But I feel like he's got more depth, again, being the remake thing. He's got to kind of have something new, at least a little bit. And then obviously what happens at the end and stuff, it's hard to, exactly as Ghost Platinum said, it's very hard to beat Sephiroth. But in terms of personality, he doesn't have it, right? Personality, Voss or somebody else definitely has more personality. Okay. Best skill gap. This was a Sway. Now, we did this last year, but maybe some people haven't watched last year. This is your nomination kind of category. Do you want to explain what this is? This is mine, but you just want to explain what the category is?
Yes. So best skill gap is basically what I call the get good category. It is a game that requires you to learn skill and apply that skill to a game. Something that not everybody, you can tell that one player can be better at the combat or however the game is laid out than other players.
There we go. So I And what I kind of did, I took Sway's definition and I kind of expanded it a little bit. But I did Stellar Blade, Black Myth Wukong, Quidditch Champions, Helldivers 2, and Marvel Rivals. I think all great games, by the way, all great games. But I'll explain my answer. I'll explain my answer with Helldivers 2. Okay. So how I look at this, and it does involve a skill gap. So I tried to use part of Sway's definition, which he did give me. He gave me the dictionary version, and I followed it. Helldivers, when you're playing harder, like harder levels, harder just in general, when the game increases with that skill gap, it almost becomes, I think, an entirely different game and like a 10 times better game than like earlier stuff or easier stuff. So to me, it's the enhancement that the skill gap provides. Does that make sense? That's why Helldivers is mine. Okay. I love the category. I think it's very clever. All right, Sway, yours.
Best skill gap for me was Stellar Blade, Black Myth Wukong, Quidditch Champions, Multiverses, Marvel Rivals. And my winner was Black Myth Wukong. This game, I actually struggled a lot.
Same. So much.
So much. I mean, you had regular enemies feeling like whole boss fights.
Yeah, you really did.
So I mean, hands down, I looked at this and I said, this combat is very good. I need to get better at the game. I need to get good. This is the first game out of the year. Like Stellar Blade, I felt like I had like a natural feeling for it, and even then I had to learn a little bit. But this game, no, I'm still not that far.
No. This game broke me, honestly. It really did. All right, most innovative. This is Sway's category. Or this, I think this is something we talked about, but this is Sway's slide. You take it from here.
Most innovative. Black Myth. Oh my God, Batman Arkham Shadow, Shattered VR, Shootout VR, Spartle Ops, and Metaphor ReFantazio. And my winner was Shattered VR. When I think of innovation, I'm thinking of something that a game does that pushes not only the genre forward, but gaming forward. And the thing that Shattered uses is a feature called mixed reality with in-quest headsets. And it basically takes your room. So like my room now, like every doorway, every entrance, I can put an item on my wall and let's say a mirror. And that mirror allows me to basically crack it. And I can take a piece of that mirror and it will basically bounce me back and forth between the reality in my room and also the reality within the game. And for a horror game and how it was executed and bouncing back and forth between your actual reality and mixed reality and the reality of the game, I just thought that it was a completely different experience that I had never experienced ever. And I feel like that was very innovative. I love the way that it was done. If you have a MetaQuest headset, or if you're getting one, that is a game I would highly recommend. Even if you want to go on YouTube, look it up, watch some gameplay. It is insane.
The pitch sells me, honestly. You told me about it before we went live, and it sounds super cool. So I'm into it, and I think it makes sense. That's a valid winner. Okay, most innovative for me: Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Helldivers 2, Astrobot, Plucky Squire, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So I tried to, I mean, the definition obviously is pretty simple. Games that fit into the genre. How does it, like Sway said, right? If it is part of a genre, how does it push the genre? It's like not even Final Fantasy is here because what do those games really, really push? So I actually feel pretty good about my winner. I actually pick the Plucky Squire. Because of all of those, I think Plucky Squire is the most like breaking out of its genre. Indiana Jones does very much like Dishonored and Hitman, and it does it really well. And maybe innovation, it melds those two, into one. But Plucky Squire is kind of like a thing all in and of its own, right? Like it does like the storybook come to life thing, but it mixes jumping out of the page and turning the pages and using powers, in different places, different kinds of combat styles. I actually think this game is extremely just different, just really, really different. So that's what I think of when I do that. So there we go. Plucky Squire is mine. Most improved. I'm going to have to explain my winner on this one. But most improved: Silent Hill 2 Remake, Helldivers 2, No Man's Sky, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. I'll save, it till the winner here. So I picked Silent Hill 2. Now, what I'm saying here, I'm not saying this is where I'm taking a liberty. This is my show, and we're allowed to do that. I'm not saying it's necessarily an improvement on the original Silent Hill 2. You can think that, and I don't really care. I'm actually talking about improvement for like the company and for the brand. So I'm literally saying the improvement of Silent Hill in the last couple of years to this game. So you think like Silent Hill, the short message, which I kind of liked, but it's not anything, and most people actually hated it. And then also the episodic one that was, that one that was terrible. So this, I would just say, an improved Silent Hill, right? The brand, I think, is in a much better spot now than it was before Silent Hill 2 came out. Okay? That's mine. And that's why I chose it. Sway's turn.
I like that, honestly, because
Yeah.
I mean that is a very big improvement. Just for it pushes it improved the franchise.
It did.
The quality
I
of
went
the franchise.
bigger. I went a little bigger there.
All right, my nominees are Multiverses, Helldivers 2, No Man's Sky, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Street Fighter 6, and my winner is Multiverses. I picked this one because the history of Multiverses, when it released originally, people enjoyed it, but not enough to continue to play it. Eventually it lost a lot of its player base. They eventually took the game down. They reworked it. They brought it back. And not only did people have a better reception to it when they brought it back, but the player base is healthy and stable. And so I feel like anything on my list just did not have, like, I would even say the comeback story that this game had for me.
Right. Very good. Very good. All right. Best community. This is yours, Sway.
Best community. Stellar Blade, the VR gaming community, the Arkham community, Elden Rings community, Black Myth Wukong community. My winner is a little unorthodox here, but it is the VR gaming community. If you've ever, it doesn't matter if you got a Quest, a PlayStation VR, the Apple Pro, like any of the VR headsets, that VR community might be the healthiest and, like, when I say like the most helpful while also being active community I've seen in a while. It is insane. Everybody is so supportive over there, so helpful, and also so informative, and just everything you want a community to be.
Can we nominate, just as a quick runner-up, the Podcast Now community and
Yes.
the great people that took time out of their Friday? So, which I thought about it, but then like we didn't talk about it and you didn't do it, and I was like, no, it seems too egotistical. But no, we very much appreciate you guys watching live or afterwards. So this one was kind of tough for me, honestly. So I did Helldivers, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That one I had to reach for because some of the Rebirth community is terrible, but some of it's really, really good. So good outweighs the bad. Stellar Blade, Astrobot, and then Dragon Ball. And my winner actually is Helldivers. I feel like they've been through a lot, even though, and a lot of those games were still within this year. But Helldivers 2's community, I mean, we had to deal with like the PC thing with the PlayStation login and just quite a bit. I mean, even more recently with the Killzone stuff that was priced weird and all that jazz. But I also think about kind of the coming together, like you said, kind of helpfulness and just like the community spirit. And you think even about how they promoted the game with like giving out like these dispatch kind of messages right on Twitter and stuff, and people going and taking out like the right quadrants that they were like directed to. I just think it's kind of unique. I think that community is one of the most unique communities that we've seen.
And
So
I want to just do a special shout out to the Stellar Blade community.
Yes.
That was my runner-up, and that was extremely close for me because as a person that has seen everything with that game, no matter whether if it was the media or fans just having their problems with the game, that community stayed positive. They were vocal. Any changes that they felt they wanted for the game, they peacefully asked the developers, and the developers responded almost instantly always. Those suits that they wanted were immediately in the game not too long after. Anything when the media had a problem with the graffiti on the wall, that was addressed instantly.
Yeah.
So whether if it was on all sides, that community, spoke very clearly to the developers, and the developers reacted very quickly and precisely. And
Agree.
that was a hard one to kind of choose over.
And that was another one that kind of got mislabeled and,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And had to deal with a lot, right? Like Helldivers, I would say. Stellar Blade probably had to deal with more, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, that's a good one too. Yeah, that was probably gonna be my runner up. Okay, so then this is mine. Best new IP: Plucky Squire, Black Myth Wukong, Stellar Blade, Metaphor, and Banishers: Ghosts of New Eden. This one, to be honest with you, I can't even remember what I picked. But I mean, no, honestly, this one is loaded. I mean, all of those. Maybe like Plucky Squire, you know, if you haven't heard of it, maybe it's a step down. But honestly, you look at those right four, okay? And the middle ones are all gonna get sequels, right? Like you'll
Yeah.
get more Black Myth, Stellar Blade, Metaphor. Banishers is kind of the tragedy of this list, right? Because it's dead, but it was such a great one. So all in all, I do actually remember which one I chose. Metaphor, I feel like is it's maybe a hint towards not necessarily my game of the year, but where I think these games might rank. Metaphor, I think, is the best of the new IP. That's pretty much just my opinion there. Sway's turn.
My nominees are Power World, Black Myth Wukong, Stellar Blade, Metaphor, Banishers. Banishers is very much a tragedy. Alex knows I covered that game in thread.
Yeah.
I was very on top of that game. I truly love that game.
It's a great
Sad
game.
the support turnout for it, but I hope it gets a second life somehow. Whether if we could give it to people by making them aware.
We've done truly all we can with our reach. We can't actually do more. Yeah. Maybe like a PlayStation Plus or Game Pass thing is like, you know, the only way to do it.
And the winner for me is Stellar Blade.
There you go.
If you've paid attention to my social media, I felt like this game is absolutely amazing. Devil May Cry is my favorite franchise of all time, and I've been on record saying that if we never got another DMC game, I would be 100% okay because I'm in good hands with this. Yeah. From the characters to the way that they were introduced to the things that maybe didn't make the game, like the content comics that they released before the game came out, the things that you read, and that's the biggest thing with this. There was such a mixed thing with people not liking that a lot of it was buried in dialogue and some feeling like it wasn't enough cutscenes, and then you have the community that read all the dialogue and just totally have the opinion that I have, which is this world, the moment they can articulate it on a grander scale, it's gonna blow people away.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good pick. It's a good pick. All right, so this one is yours.
Yes. Best continuing franchise: Batman Arkham Shadows, Asgard's Wrath, Metro Awakening, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Dragon's Dogma 2. And my winner is Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
Finally.
As a fan of really lifelong at this point of Dragon Ball and just the older Tenkaichi games, which were called the Sparking games in Japan. I've always loved these games. I've always wanted to bring them back. It has a very special place in my heart. I was not disappointed with this game. I absolutely loved it. I know that the community, they wanted it to be more competitive, and I personally fought against that because the traditional, I guess, spirit of this game is to be more in tune with the anime and less competitive in that aspect. You get the sense of just how the characters scale. And it gave me that. It gave me beautiful visuals. Hands down, I think that it paid respect to what came before it while also pushing it forward.
Yeah. It's a quiet, great game, in my opinion. You know, it's kind of been blasted a bit since it came out, but and it's, you know, there's valid reasons that people are mad, but I don't know. For me, I really liked it, but it's kind of like a quiet, like it's there. It was a game that makes this year a little special. But it's not like, I guess, that super elite tier, and maybe that's what people, like you said, maybe that's what they wanted, right? That's continuing franchise. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Helldivers 2, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Astrobot, and Silent Hill 2 Remake. So I kind of looked at this also, like, how does it, I guess I'm jumping ahead to the winner, but like, where does it kind of put the franchise compared to like where the franchise has been? Okay. That's kind of a lead up to my winner. And my winner is Astrobot. And that's why, because you think about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth does not necessarily put Final Fantasy in a grander place, right? Maybe it does to me, and I guess these are like selfishly our awards, but I'm thinking about just like as a whole, where do these things put the game franchise now? And Astrobot made it a thing, right? Like, I mean, you had Astro's Playroom, you had the VR mission, but I don't know. I think Astrobot is probably in the best place, of any of these franchise, at least in my opinion. I feel like it's in such a good place and it's so open to more. And that's why, Final Fantasy's ending, with 7, the final 7 part 3. So I feel like that kind of had to be it for me. Okay, we are wrapping up. I think we got 3 or 4 more and then game of the year. So this is my best performance. So we got Russ Bane as Red. I only did the people. I didn't do who they played, but we can figure it out together. So Russ Bane is Red from Banishers. Troy Baker, obviously, is Indy. Hannah Tell, Life is Strange Double Exposure. Brianna White, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, obviously Aerith. And then Luke Roberts as James in Silent Hill 2 Remake. All so deserving. And again, let me say, like, Antea, I say like Britt Baron of Tifa in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as well. A lot. I mean, you could really go down the list. There's some great performances that we got this year, but only one wins. And for me, it's Brianna. This was tough. It was freaking tough because I wanted Hannah Tell. Like, that's a personal bias. But I got to be true to which one was actually better, in my opinion. She was given way more to work with, way more. If you're going based off gap of like what they were given versus how good they did, I think Hannah Tell ran miles because she was given next to nothing and she was fantastic. But she was given a lot, right? So I had to go with that. All right, your turn.
Okay, so my nominees are Graham McTavish, Roger Craig Smith, Hannah Telly, Brianna White, Cody Christian. And my winner is Roger Craig Smith as Batman. He, as I said before, played 3 different characters. So first, and none of these characters sounded the same at all. Matches Malone sounded different from Bruce Wayne, from Batman. And the amount of time he spent between Batman and Matches was crazy. And I would have never thought they were the same voice actor until I looked them up. But he did very good, very convincing job, even conveying emotion through both characters. Bruce wasn't really that active, but he did have to show range when he did do Bruce. So absolutely loved his performance. I think that was a big one for him because he had to juggle a lot of hats in this game.
There you go. There you go. All right. And then one that I thought was really important for us. We didn't have to fight a board to get this category on, but obviously to have the whole cast, right, be recognized. I think this was important. So you went last, so this is yours.
Okay, so my categories. My nominees were Indiana Jones, The Great Circle, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Batman Arkham Shadows, Metro Awakening. And my winner is Final Fantasy Rebirth. And honestly, from more ways than one. If we're talking about the actual cast of actors, best one out of the bunch. Yeah. I love them all, especially some of them I've watched in many of shows that I've watched, and just the cast of characters themselves, like within the game. Again, like that whole group in Final Fantasy VII, just an amazing cast. How they care for each other, how they bond with each other, how they work together, how they have their differences. It's impossible not to love them both ways. Like whether that's the actual cast or the in-game cast.
The chat is surprised you didn't pick Batman, by the way. They're actually borderline shocked. They thought you'd pick Batman. No,
it has been sweeping tonight. So I can't blame them.
We all have our own personal bias. So what can you say? All right, my best cast: Metaphor, Final Fantasy, Banishers. Banishers smaller cast, but so good I wanted to include them. Like a Dragon, which also always has really great, fun kind of cast, so I thought they deserved it. And then Indie. So I really tried to do a big sweep with this one, but Final Fantasy is also actually, so I lied. We have two that we both agreed on the exact same thing. Yep, everything that Sway said. I mean, when you end the game and when I end the game and I'm sad to see them go, right? Where it's like, man, it's going to be hard for the next several years to be without these characters. That means the cast now Metaphor is getting there. Metaphor, Sway said 10 out. I've played like 35 and they're pretty memorable too, right? And I don't doubt that. So I wouldn't be shocked after beating Metaphor if I felt that for Metaphor, but right now, yeah, like Ghost Platinum said, it's just the length. I haven't played the whole thing. It's a phenomenal game, but in terms of my opinion, right now, this day, we pushed the Game Awards as far as we could. Didn't want to go into January. Okay.
All I ask is you give us hope.
May your memories live
May your memories live
May
on.
your memories live on.
forever.
Is this what Adam was talking about? We have to go down.
Well now, think we woke it up. Angered it, more like.
All right, Sway. Game of the Year 2024. Those were your candidates in video form, but now your candidates in picture form.
Yes, so the nominees are Stellar Blade, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Black Myth Wukong, Metaphor ReFantazio, and Space Marines 2. Let me see what the chat thinks. What am I going to pick?
Yes, go through yours. Go through what you think Sway is going to do. Stellar Blade, you got one. It's a little. I think you picked a pretty good, diverse list, and I think if we expanded it to like 10, it could have been more.
Yeah, it could have been easily. Okay, and my winner is Stellar Blade. This is honestly, if everybody had like their own like game of a generation kind of, this would probably be mine. From everything that it sets up, from the lore within the text that you read in the game, from even the performances in the cutscene, and even like Eve as a main character, just coming from literally nothing. She doesn't know what rain is when she first hits the planet and at the very beginning of the game. And she's learning as the game progresses not to be as much of an android as she is. And so throughout the game, you start to see her acquire a little bit of a personality. She's learning more. She's starting to realize what the world is around her. And the characters around her, the world, that everything that it sets up, the betrayal, the plot twist, everything in there just completely blew me away. I absolutely cannot say enough good things about this game.
Do we remember what your game of the year was for last year or no?
Man,
Mine was Alan Wake. I don't remember what yours was. But either way,
I still have it in my notes here.
Stellar Blade is a phenomenal game. Well deserved. All right. Well, we'll go into while Sway looks. I want to know what your last year's one was as well. But
I got it right here. Oh no, I don't. No, never mind.
We'll find it. We'll do some research. All right.
do some research.
Ready? Here we go.
So when they have my resurrection, we'll kill people for our own ends.
We face a choice. If you're to come back, this is when it stops.
These artifacts have a deep connection to something in the past. Boss believes they hold kind of power. A discovery that can change the world.
You're already one of us.
I am glad we travel as friends.
And we've both got something we'd fight to protect.
If thou wouldst change the world by thine own hand.
Nova would become anyone to fool her prey.
Don't do this!
But I'm no fool.
Sephiroth! Hey!
No, not you.
All right. Game of the year for me. The candidates are Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Astrobot, Metaphor, ReFantazio, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I'm already seeing people get pretty upset over the potential of what I might pick, but I don't think you have to worry because number one, these games are phenomenal. And when I look back, okay, at 2024, these are the 5. All right. You could probably expand it 6, 7, 8, Silent Hill 2, couple other games, Infinite Wealth, maybe even in like a top 10, Stellar Blade, of course. But when I think of this year, and I will, years to come, these are my choices. Anybody else want any hot takes? I'll just jump right to it. My game of the year 2024 is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. From the beginning, I actually said this is my game of the year when the game came out. No game managed to beat it. Astrobot got the closest. Astrobot would be my runner-up. It'd be my number 2. This is a game that has a couple problems, but beyond it, just overwhelming love. Queen's Blood, phenomenal. The gameplay, the actual combat, so good. Unforgettable cast. Again, those last couple hours, but also it's not just the last couple hours. It's a story that builds and characters that you fall in love with, right? It's about, Cloud and Aerith going on a date, not just the dream one, but also at the beach, right? It's about Tifa's growth and Tifa and Cloud. Everybody, Yuffie, Barrett. Barrett is so freaking good in this game. Just the game is phenomenal, okay? And to me, it's the best game of this year and one of the best games of the entire generation, I would say. Okay? Now, there's no Astrobot Betrayal because it's number 2 for me. Now, Astrobot is such a good game as well, but you can only pick one of your favorite game of an entire year, and I chose Final Fantasy. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all I've got for you. I don't have any other surprises. Sway, any final words to the crowd?
Thank you for coming out and supporting. Thank you for being interactive. I'm kind of glad we were able to swerve you guys a couple of times.
Yeah, it's good.
A lot of times they thought we were going to pick one thing and we just completely went.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, but I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed being here. I love doing this every year thing. I'm here for it. I love the support and thank you guys for tuning in.
I'll get to work on 2025 immediately because this took a while, but no, I had a blast doing this. I think the show was freaking awesome. So I really appreciate Sway. I think Sway is a good piece to this too, because it just brings a lot of different stuff that I honestly can't bring. The Arkham Shadow representation and other things. Stellar Blade, I think, made a lot of people pretty happy too that you were able to bring to the party. So greatly appreciate Sway being here. Thank you all honestly so much for you guys watching live. Thank you. Again, I know the majority of people are going to watch this afterwards. Hopefully you had fun. That's the whole point of this, is to have fun. Give us your awards in the comments. Don't worry too much about what we think. That's I'm pretty sure both of us preach that all the time. Yep. Your game of the year is your game of the year. Your best setting, all that jazz is yours. Okay. That's it. Thank you for watching. It's been an insane year. I think 2025, this is going to be kind of all over the place with the amount of games that are coming out. I think 2025 is going to be a great show. We will be live again next year. I'm not Jeff Keighley, so I don't have a date planned, so I can't tell you December, whatever. But Sway and I will be back for the 3rd annual Podcast Now Game Awards. Thank you all for watching, and we hope to see you all on the next one.